Erano gli anni in cui c'era un numero 4 con il cognome anglosassone, la fascia rossa sul braccio, lo stile, forza e coraggio e senso di appartenenza, onorava una maglia con tutta la sua eleganza. Erano gli anni di piombo tra favole e pistole, erano gli anni in cui a Roma nascevi solo laziale, nascevi solo laziale. C'era una banda di folli guidata da un uomo buono, ma quando scendeva in campo c'eri tu capitano, che non avevi paura di metterci la gamba, che non avevi paura di metterci la faccia, e tutto il fiato che hai speso per farci gonfiare il petto lo abbiamo tirato fuori quel 12 maggio del 74. Nei nostri cuori tu sarai e per sempre resterai il nostro capitano. La storia adesso sei, che storia resterai per sempre, per sempre. C'era una banda di folli guidata da un uomo buono, ma quando scendeva in campo c'eri tu capitano, che non avevi paura di metterci la gamba, che non avevi paura di metterci la faccia, e tutto il fiato che hai speso per farci gonfiare il petto lo abbiamo tirato fuori quel 12 maggio del 74. Nei nostri cuori tu sarai, per sempre tu sarai il nostro capitano. La storia adesso sei, che storia resterai per sempre, per sempre, per sempre.
Good evening, and welcome to Planet Lazio. Today is Wednesday. I wanted to open this new show with some images about Pino Wilson. Pino Wilson was the captain of SS Lazio in 1974, called the team of crazy players, la banda dei matti. Pino Wilson, together with Maestrelli, that was the coach of Lazio, and Giorgio Chinaglia, Long John, like it was called here when he came in the United States, and played with the Cosmos in New York. That's how it was called. They were like the triad, the trio of wonders. Pino Wilson died last Sunday for a sudden stroke that he had during the night, and it kind of made a little bit, bittersweet the winning the game of Lazio that won in Cagliari for 3-0. I want to personally remember Pino Wilson. Him and I, we worked together. We did lots of charity events, and he was always ready to help, ready to give his name and to give anything that he could do to just make the Lazio fan Lazio, and help anything that he was involved in the Lazio world, and also wasn't. It was a great man. He really brought to Lazio something that maybe I still have to see, with somebody that has the captain armband. His armband was red. And this Sunday, Ciro Immobile, Lazio's captain, today's Lazio's captain, is going to wear, the red band to honor him and to remember that he was the Lazio, the first championship, the first Scudetto. A team, a squad that is been devastated by death, starting with Luciano Rececconi, Giorgio Chinaglia, Mario Facco, Tommaso Maestrelli, the head coach of Lazio, Pino Wilson last Sunday. Too many already disappeared for Lazio. Too many just went away too soon in a Lazio that it would never repeat itself again. Men that they were when they were training in Tor di Quinto, the training camp, they would literally kill each other. But when it came Sunday and on the pitch, on the green grass, they were like a band of brothers that nobody could beat. And nobody will never beat, because the Lazio of 1974, it's a Lazio that will never be here again with those kind of men. And the captain, the immortal captain of Lazio, left us last Sunday. Ciao, Pino. Goodbye, Pino. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for always have been so humble, so down to earth, and I was honored to have met you and to have shake your hand. After this, we're gonna start Planet Lazio. Show must go on, like the good ones say. Of course, not me, but somebody good beside me. We're gonna talk about Cagliari Lazio. We're gonna talk about the next game, that is Lazio Venezia, and then what is going on in the Planet Lazio. So we started right now, and we go on with our anthem from Dimo, great Italian composer. I'll see you in a couple of minutes, and we start Planet Lazio.
Il nostro padre fondatore ha scelto come simbolo un'aquila imperiale, è nobiltà che scorre dentro le nostre vene da quel 9 gennaio del 1900. La mia seconda pelle, bianco celeste è, con quei colori addosso, non sento la paura. Le origini confermano che Roma siamo noi, la prima squadra di questa capitale. La Lazio è un sogno che non esce mai di scena, mai di scena. La Lazio è quella fede che ci unisce, che di padre e figlio si trasmette. Ora una poco rispetto, portare con fierezza il nostro simbolo sul petto, sudore, orgoglio, onore per questa società, perché la gente passa ma la Lazio resterà. La Lazio è stile di vita e senso di appartenenza. La Lazio è eterno amore che ci fa gridare tutti in coro: io ti amo. Ora un'aquila, ora libera, mentre sventola la mia anima sulla bandiera. Ora un'aquila per un popolo che non molla mai per conquistare la vittoria. Ora un'aquila, ora libera, mentre sventola la mia anima sulla bandiera. Ora un'aquila per un popolo che non molla mai per conquistare la vittoria e continuare a scrivere la storia.
Welcome back to Planet Lazio. We had just a little bit of introduction for our captain that unfortunately left us, Pino Wilson. But right now we're gonna go straight in talking a little about Cagliari Lazio, the last game that our superheroes, played, and of course, we're gonna play in and talk about Lazio Venezia, the next one in the fixture. I will introduce you right now. I see it already in the back of stage. Our friend Steven. We'll bring him up right now. Good evening, Steven. How you doing?
Good. Ciao, Angelo. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for joining Planet Lazio. Steven is joining us from Canada. Just tell a little bit about yourself, and you have a great site called De Laziali, the Lazio fans. And just introduce yourself a little bit, and then we're going to start talking about, anything that is about Lazio.
For sure, yeah. So my name is Stephen Moore. You can find me on Twitter at S_K_Moore there. It's already tagged in the picture. But I'm a 23-year-old Lazio fan from Toronto. My grandparents, are from Sora Frosinone. And obviously the Laziali was founded due to my passion for Lazio, but it also stemmed from them. So yeah, the website's been up since 2018, and we report on all things Lazio for the English-speaking Lazio community around the world. So our goal is to kind of connect the Laziali from worldwide, because obviously sometimes it's difficult for viewers and watchers of the club to kind of find English content on them. So that's where we kind of came in and are trying to bridge that gap between everyone.
That's awesome. I know that in the past, we spoke, we got a few friends in common, our great lawyer, Gianluca Mignogna, and we both tried to do something with Lazio, but, they're like kind of like the gates of Formello. They're so closed for us outside, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was good to kind of obviously meet yourself from Gianluca, and hopefully kind of meet you guys in person at some point in the future. But yeah, definitely, it's kind of a letdown, but we can only try again, and hopefully one day it kind of works through or gets to them, right? So.
Oh, you're right. I mean, it's it's one of the themes that actually is going on with all the Lazio fans in Italy, but around the world. That hopefully, President Lutito will leave soon the helm of Lazio, and we will have maybe somebody that really cares about us as fans, and also the Lazio all. Let me say hello to Bruno from Brazil. Ciao, Bruno. Welcome to Planet Lazio. So let's dive in right away, with what happened in the last fixture, that is Cagliari Lazio. Sarri said that Lazio is playing like this since December, but a lot of us, didn't see that and didn't want maybe see that Lazio evolve and is finally becoming a Lazio with the Sarrismo, the way the Sarri is wants, for his team, to play. And so, what do you think about these words that Sarri said about it? I mean, he was a little bit upset, like he's always is, with the journalist, but it was kind of like, hey, wake up, guys, because we're still playing good, but the results, elimination from Italy's Cup and Europa League, right now they're not for Sarri.
Yeah, no, I think he's kind of a perfectionist, and I think he likes to see what he wants to be done. Just like every coach, most people really push for things to be seen. I think in training, obviously he's seen that things have changed, and I think we can see that in gameplay. I think a lot of the players are more comfortable, especially in the back line, which was quite surprising because obviously over the past month and a half, Acerbi's been out, and Patrick kind of filled in for him, and I think he did very well. I think the defense, whether it be the connection he has with Luis Felipe, whatever the case may be, because I remember Luis Felipe did come out and say that he enjoys playing with Patrick, but also he enjoys playing with Acerbi, and he'll try to work with whoever else is put next to him, right? So I think they've become more comfortable in what they have to do from starting out of the back, and you can kind of see that each game. And against Cagliari, it was perfect. We saw the counter-attacking Sarrismo play that obviously he wants the team to play. And just from the back line all the way up to attack, everyone looks to be kind of finally understanding their roles. And I think, obviously, it was kind of surprising to figure out that Lazio had not won in a month almost. I think February 12th was the last time they won. It was also a 3-0 victory against Bologna, because we had played I thought we had played very well in the games between then and against Cagliari, right? So I can definitely understand what he's saying, whereby he said we've been playing like this since December, but I think we've actually even gotten better and progressed since December up to this point, right? So I think we're finally starting to see things play into the path that he wants. And obviously, being eliminated from the Coppa Italia, being eliminated from the Europa League obviously sucks. But at the end of the day, it is going to allow him to kind of put his strategy into play and give the players more time to adapt and be able to understand what he wants completely. So obviously, having this from now until the end of the season, just one match a week or maybe two, depending on if there's a midweek match, obviously he's going to give Lazio a good run into the top four for the final few games, or final part of the season, I should say.
Yeah, that is actually what you said. Is Sarri repeatedly said it, throughout since September, since August, that the championship started. I need time, playing Sunday or Saturday, Thursday, not enough time for the Lazio player to get together, to know each other with the Sarri way of play. But as right now, so no more excuses, because actually they're going to have 6-7 days, to prepare the following games that we talk about in a little bit. But at the same time, I'm thinking about next year. Hopefully, Lazio, and I'm talking about President Lotito and our Tare, will buy the players that we need to buy. And we're talking about 6 to 7 strong player, not just somebody that can come on the pitch and play. But if he keeps saying this that he wants like a week, to just perform. So Lazio next year, what is going to do? Just the championship to look forward, or hopefully if we get a spot, in the Europa League, since Champions League, it looks a little bit too far right now. We're gonna have the same story repeated by Sarri.
Yeah, I think right now top four is still reasonable. I think we're fighting for that fourth spot. I think it's been what we've been trying to do for the past few years, and I think this year is another case of it. I took a look at the remaining games that Lazio has, and I think right now, for the remainder of the season, we have 3 tough games. Obviously, the Derby della Capitale, which is after Venezia, this upcoming week, and we have Milan and Juventus. So Roma and Juventus are also fighting for that fourth spot. Maybe Juventus, we could say that they're fighting for the third spot, but those are matches when we come head to head with them, we need to win. And the rest of the matches we're against teams that are below us in the table. So I think either way, we're going to have European football next season. Whether it be Conference League I'd say put a damper the mood, but I think Europa League is probably where we're going to end up, unless we kind of win these head-to-head matches and we're able to continue on this path that we are right now. And I think fourth place is still reasonable. If that is the case, I think Tade and, like you said, Lotito have to go out of their way and spend money, especially with the contract situation right now that we have at the club. I think a lot of the players are going to be either leaving or they're going to have a big reset, and that's going to start from the back line. I think only right now there's 2 or 3 defenders out of the whole team. I think it's Lazzari and maybe even Marusic, if that hasn't been made official yet, that have contracts right now starting from next season, and Acerbi, I should mention. Everyone else either has a contract that's expiring or they're supposed to be leaving the club, like Luis Felipe, Patrick's supposed to be gone. Like all these players who are composing our back line right now or our back core, we don't know what it's going to look like for next season. And I think there's going to be a really big reset. And even in Acerbi's future, we see him being linked to the likes of Inter or Milan as of late, right? So who knows what happens come next year. But I was kind of surprised and interested by what Tade had said this past Mercato when he came out and said basically this is the best thing that could have possibly happened. And it kind of made me sit back and go, okay, that either means that he's been planning for the future. So like he's been talking with Mino Raiola about Romagnoli. He's talking about other agents about certain players and clubs about certain players who, whatever the case may be, they can bring over for next season. Which is why right now he said, you know what, we did what we could possibly do. Brought in Giovanni Cabral, who probably won't end up staying anyways. Kind of just a filler role for now, because he even said, oh, I bought him to play across the whole front line. And Sadi said, no, he can only play maybe as a filler for Immobile. If Immobile is injured, he can't play on the wings. So that kind of just shows you that Sadi didn't want this type of player. He wanted someone else, but here's all we could give you for the time being. So kind of do with it like they did with Inzaghi for so many years. So I think at the end of the day, if we do finish in a top 4 position, which like I said, is definitely doable, if we play well, we're going to have to change a lot of things because the team itself is going to be changing. But that's also good in Sadi's favor, because obviously the players that we saw do really well at the beginning of the season were the players who were newer. Like he said, Basic was starting over Luis Alberto because Luis Alberto and all these other players had gotten so used to Inzaghi's tactics in the 3-5-2 that when something came in and it was a drastic change, they were still trying to revert back to their old ways. Like I remember my Nono was saying at the first half of the season, oh, look, we're getting used to Inzaghi ball again. We're going back to that. We're going back to that because the players were just so used to that style of play. Like it's in the back of your mind that I need to do this, because what I've been told for the past 4 or 5 years, right? So coming into this new kind of season with a new coach, definitely it was probably difficult. But if we're able to keep our core, if Milinkovic, if Luis Alberto, if Immobile obviously are all going to stay, and maybe even Acerbi, yes, I think that'll be kind of a big boost for us. And then obviously we can grow from there. But definitely this season we gotta push to the end.
Well, it's Luis Alberto. The last words that he said, and this was like recently, like yesterday, said he wants to stay at Lazio, and that these little voices they were given, to back to Spain, to Seville. He said that they're not true, but you know how it is. I mean, until we see who's gonna sign for next year, we're gonna just always chance it. But yes, Luis Alberto, like he played last Sunday against the Cagliari, it's absolutely fantastic. And we had to say that Lazio, when the starters are fantastic players. The other thing is Lazio has maybe 14, maybe 15 players. And we tend to forget that we have somebody that is still out, like Manuel Lazzari, that is absolutely a phenomenal now right winger, fullback, but usually it was a little bit more forward, with Inzaghi. But even Lazzari said that right now he understands what Sarri wants, and he wants to stay. So the dilemma is it's our defense. I mean, if you see that the stats for Lazio, we have 57 goals that we score. So we are the second best striking team in Serie A, but we got 42 goal conceived, and we had the 7th worst defense. Even though it was a clean sheet, the last Saturday. I'm sorry. So about last Saturday, who was for you the best player? I don't want to say, when Lazio wins, for me, there is no bad player. Because, if not, we always go, Lazio fans, we are so ready to just throw stones and like, oh my God, this sucks, that's bad, So we won 3-0, that's good. So who was your, let's say, your top 3 on Cagliari Lazio?
I think it was probably the goal scorers, actually. I think all 3 of them, but it kind of ranks in different positions. I thought Luis Alberto obviously caused the penalty. He scored a goal. Felipe Anderson, though, was electric, and that was like a vintage performance for him. So I think I want to say Felipe Anderson, and just even looking at the stats and the way he was playing with confidence again, because as of late, he has been in good form, and that was also good to see because he was also struggling probably a month back. So he's kind of turned on the Jets again. Hopefully he's able to continue for the rest of the season. But I think he was probably the best player, and it's interesting to see because the last time he was kind of like the man of the match for me was when Lazio had won 3-0 against Bologna. So it kind of seemed like a full month, and he kind of had that big performance again. I think he was very good, and obviously that little piece of skill and unselfishness on the second goal for Luis Alberto. I think he obviously he could have shot that, and he was looking up the entire way. He did not want to shoot at all. He wanted to set up Luis Alberto, and that just shows you the connection between the players, right? He wants to make that connection with players and wants to give them that goal, right? And then obviously seeing him do that piece of skill, and I think he did it against Cagliari years back, but obviously it was funny to see that he kind of scored a similar goal, and that was just great technical skill. So I think if I had to rank the top three, I think it would be Felipe Anderson, Luis Alberto, and then Ciro Immobile for obviously equaling Piolo's record with Lazio for goals scored in Serie A, which is also incredible. 143 goals in 200 games. That's outrageous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, Ciro Immobile, you know, the bad thing that Ciro Immobile is good thing for us that he landed actually on our side, you know, and plays for Lazio, and he broke every single record about it. On the other hand, it's bad for this guy because if he was in any other team like Inter Milan, AC Milan, Juventus, even Bologna, let's say that, it will be praised and put like on this altar of, you know, the greatness or the greatest. Like, you know, we need to remember that in Europe, Immobile is just behind Lewandowski, that is number one, Messi number two, and then there is Ciro Immobile. And this is one of the things that drives me crazy about, you know, the Lazio. But Lazio, when I talk about Lazio, not the team, Lazio with President Lotito and company, that with a player like that, we don't actually do anything, nothing, to just put him in a weight of, oh my God, we have one of the top three best ever, you know, in Europe. But we also had, you know, Miro Klose years back. We didn't do anything about it. So it's something that it really upset me, and I know that upset a lot of Lazio fans because we had great players. You know, in the other side of Rome, they still talking about a number 10 that actually didn't even do anything for that team. He won even less, but it's still praised like, you know, the greatest player ever. And it's very bad. And this is something that is shame, you know, on President Lotito and everybody else. There was actually a question for you, you know, from Bruno that, as I said, you know, it writes and follow us, you know, from Brazil, from Sao Paulo. What do you think about this moment of Lazio? What can come out, you know, from let's say last Sunday, so we can go and talk a little bit maybe for the next fixture that is Lazio Venezia, and we talk about why it's actually is on Monday. But what do you think about this time of Lazio, present Lazio?
I think we're on good form, and I think that win, the 3-0 win, obviously against Cagliari, I think that only cemented ourselves as being in top form. I think in the last 10 Serie A games, I think we've only lost 2. That speaks volumes. I think we're tied for second, or we're third best record in that time frame right now. I think Milan and Juventus are the only other 2 that's better than them. I think Milan might be equal with us. I can't remember correctly. That just kind of shows you that things are kind of kicking into play. And for the rest of the season, Saudi has basically told the players, like, let's make this happen. Let's believe in this. Obviously, at the beginning of the year, people said, you know, they wrote us off the top 4. I think I even had us in 6th place, maybe 7th in the Conference League. But obviously and it's the funny thing, it's kind of like this whole circle that always happens. But we always say, hey, we want to make European competitions. We want to make European competitions. And then as the season starts and as the season goes on, we say, okay, let's get out of Coppa Italia. Let's get out of Europa League. Let's just focus on Serie A to finish in a top 4 position. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think this is one of those years whereby we tried our best in the competitions. We unfortunately faced a Porto side that I think we were unlucky not to go through against. I think we were better than them in the 2 legs, which is also surprising to me considering how well they've been doing in their league. But also they lost 2 or 3 of their top players over the winter transfer market. So credit to Sergio Conceição, former Lazio player as well, for being able to kind of deal with that and still perform with the players that he has at his disposal. But yeah, like I think I said, right now on the form that we're in, I think we can kind of take it to any team that we play. It's about the players kind of believing in themselves and hopefully no other injuries happen, because of course we're only an injury away from going, okay, well, now top four doesn't look too reasonable. Let's maybe say top six, right? If Immobile goes down or if Milinkovic-Savic goes down for the rest of the season, it begins to kind of get a little bit more complicated in that sense. So I think if everyone's able to stay healthy, which should be the case, unless obviously a tackle goes in and they get injured or something happens like with Lazio, for example, I think we should be good to kind of to push for that. So the current Lazio right now, I think we're doing very well, and hopefully we're able to just continue on this current path and form.
I love that you're very confident, in the fourth place. You keep saying that it's like achievable. I mean, it's that the classifica, the standings for Serie A. We can read it really fast. AC Milan right now is at 60 points, Inter 58, Napoli 57. So those three, they are the contenders for the championship and the Scudetto. But Juventus, that at the beginning of this year, it was like really in a very bad predicament. Right now is at 53 points with the fourth place. Yep. They will follow, Atalanta and Roma at 47. So he got 6 points from fourth place. And then Lazio at the seventh place right now with 46 points. So everything is achievable. I mean, we got 10 more fixtures, to go. So it's 30 points. If what Sarri said, if we play every 7 days, we can win them all, because that's pretty much what he said. So I want to go in the next fixture, then is Lazio Venezia, because then the following week, and we will talk on the next Planet Lazio better. It's going to be like a special for it, but then it's going to be the derby against Roma on 2 games, and that it's beside the 5th or 6th place is actually determines our whole season right now, because with the derby is always something that we feel one of the games that we feel the most as Lazio fan. So like you were saying, if one of the players goes down, and we saw, with Ciro Immobile, what happened, and we can go back, a few games, in Porto, against, Conceição there. I believe, we lost 2-1, but we played a great game. With Ciro Immobile, I truly believe that Lazio would have not lost that game, and then maybe in Rome, we could have done a different game. The game that we did, it was very unlucky because we hit 2 posts, and Lazio was very unlucky in conceiving goal. But Porto passed, and I truly believe that if the game was be lasting like 2 or 3 more minutes, we would have won actually that game, because Lazio show the willingness that I want to win, and this actually showed also in Cagliari. Mm-hmm. So now we're gonna play on a Monday night. In Canada and the United States, the Monday night football, it's like, it's the big deal. Right now, even in Italy, they're going to say like, oh, we got the Monday night game. I mean, it's like, so for us, it's a little bit bigger than actually for them. In Italy, actually, it's not a good thing play on Monday night. But I'm going to just tell you this couple of things. I'm going to ask you this couple of things. So we play so many games, on Thursday, and we ask, to play on Monday to have, the extra day. And sometimes it didn't happen. Sometimes we actually played on Saturday night, like about 62 hours after, we play. That could compromise, the performance of our team. Now we play Monday night, but we play again because on Saturday there is, the Italian rugby team that is going to play. Mm-hmm. So they're going to destroy again, the pitch of Olimpico. And it's funny and it's not funny that every time, rugby plays, Lazio will play right after. Roma never played after, the rugby team destroyed, the Olympic field. And I know that it sounds funny, especially for somebody that hears us, from outside Italy. But if you really follow what has happened in the last few years, not just 1 or 2, the last few years, rugby played, Lazio played thereafter, or they were pushing, the game to a different date. So it's an extra day, of course, and it's okay. But now they made us play on Monday night because of that. So
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't even realize that or follow that. But that does make sense. I was gonna say it was kind of weird to see us playing on the Monday because obviously we're only playing once a week now. So I was kind of confused why that was the case. But it's an interesting
now
little
you know.
point. Yeah, no, definitely something to remember.
Well, it's something that for us that we literally live and breathe, Lazio 24/7. And when I moved back, to United States, but when I was in Rome, they did it many times, and we always said like, "Why you guys doing that?" Because the field doesn't grow back up, even though right now they just do like chunks of it, but it's not a good field to pitch to play on if you stay like a week, together and gets together. It's even the players said, that it's harder, to play. Now Lazio is very technical. We saw, with Cagliari how fast Lazio plays right now, and this is another question for you. Do you think that actually Lazio right now is not even thinking when they pass the ball? They just go in autopilot, and they just, you see that how fast they were, with one maybe two touch top, and they got on the other side, on the Cagliari's area, like so easy. And I want to say this before, because lots of people said, well, we just play against Cagliari. Cagliari came from 8 straight good win ties. He didn't lose. So they were very, very strong on mentally to just get against Lazio, and they want to have a win, a W for it. So it's this speed that maybe made Cagliari just debacle, because Mazzarri, the coach, said that actually Cagliari should have won and not Lazio. I don't know if you read about it, but that were his words after the game. So I don't know what kind of game he was watching, even though he was right there, with the players.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To answer the first part of your question, I think we are starting, and that's where like Saudi has said, since December, we've started to get a little bit better, and we're starting to get actually a lot better with regards to how we were playing and what we were at the beginning when he first came into the team. I think it is becoming kind of like a religion whereby you touch the ball, one, two touch, let's move up the field and counter. Because it was very interesting to see them being able to attract all the players right by their zone and being comfortable, passing right across their goal, 6-yard box, 18-yard box, and then they break. And as soon as they break, it's exponential, and we kind of go out and are able to show the counter-attacking football that Saudi is obviously wants to implement in the Sorrissimo that we know so well. So I think it is kind of the autopilot now, and I think it's good to see. And then the second part of your question, obviously against Cagliari, that's what everyone was saying. Like my nono had mentioned, hey, it's just Cagliari, and I said, no. They've come into this game on good form, and obviously they're fighting relegation too. So every game matters for them right now, similar to Venezia on Monday. That's going to be the same case, right? Their team fighting relegation, and they need to kind of pick up points wherever they can. So every match kind of has a point that you can kind of filter into and say, hey, like this is actually an important game for this reason, and this is why it's going to be harder. Mazzarri saying that they should have won that game, I think he's probably thinking about something else, because I don't think so. There weren't too many chances that Cagliari had against Lazio. I think we obviously dominated that match, and I think we could have even been even more.
Yes.
On the note of Immobile himself, I think Immobile could have had probably three goals easily in this game, right? So I don't know what he means by that.
We didn't understand, why he was saying that, because it was actually funny. Maybe he was upset. But I got another question for us. Is about the future. Lazio can see good players, in Premier League, for example. Go ahead, you go first, and then I'll put, my 2 cents into it.
Yeah, no, I don't have a list in front of me, but if I did have a list, I'd be able to kind of probably throw some names around right now. But I think we've obviously seen the success Premier League players have had in Italy in recent times. Obviously, Roma has been one of those teams, and Inter that come to mind right now. I think Juventus has also been doing it. I don't know if Milan has as of late, but a lot of teams have been collecting players from the Premier League, players that they say are washed up or finished, or who are kind of not on good form anymore, or players who want to develop. Like we've seen Tomori with AC Milan, who's become a really solid defender in the league right now, probably one of the best, I'd say top probably top 5, top 7
Yes.
defenders of this year right now. So a lot of players from the Premier League are finding form and are kind of following each other to the club. We've seen that with Lazio itself, with the likes of the Liverpool players they brought in. That's why a lot of players are linked to Lazio every single year from Liverpool, who could potentially be leaving the club. I think Divock Origi was one of the people who are linked to us this past summer and maybe even January from Liverpool. So I think that's something that's definitely possible. And why not, right? If people have been seeing the success that these players have had at Lazio, and obviously they played with them before, why not come over? You're going to take a risk, but it's like a good risk. And we've seen also Premier League players go to Germany and also find success too. So I think obviously leaving and trying something new is good. And I think a lot more players are starting to do that from England to Italy. Not so much the other way around. I think Italians struggle in the UK, probably for various reasons, whether it be the weather, the food, who knows? But
maybe the food, yeah.
but yeah, definitely, I think people enjoy life in Italy when they do come. And I was watching actually an interview with Tomori the other day, and I think it's 12, 13 months into him being in Italy, and he's already speaking almost fluent Italian. And obviously he says he loves it here, right? So I think that kind of just shows, obviously, the style of life, whatever the case may be, is obviously why not take the risk and come and try it. So this summer, definitely, I think there's probably a few players. I don't have a list in front of me, but I know on Transfer Markt you can go to like the free agents, which is usually where Tade kind of swoops in and tries to get these players. But there's definitely probably opportunities to sign some of these people right now.
Yeah, I hope that Tade is not going to just, use the Balkans, the Albania, Romania, and etc. about bringing players here. The last one from the Premier League was actually Leva, and he was great player. Still a great player, but about 60, 70 minutes. Lukas Leva is still a great, midfielder. I don't know if Lazio will go to Premier League and get some players. I would love to, because they're great players. I mean, it's different kind of football that they do there that actually in Italy. Right there is literally launch the ball and everybody runs. We are a little bit more technical, but there are so many names, that they are going to be free agents, this summer. And if you want to touch a little bit, the market. I mean, after January, we were all very, very upset about what happened. Kamenovic was already in the Lazio squad, and it was something that Inzaghi left in Rome, because he wanted it, not Sarri. Cabral, I really like the guy. We saw him in a couple of games, and I hope to see him again, because I think he can really give something more a little bit. Also because he can maybe substitute Ciro Immobile, even though he's not a striker, he's not a number 9, but he can do the position. But definitely we don't have any substitution right now for our key players. And talking about June, and I know that it's a sore subject, talking about the market for Lazio, but almost the entire defense has to be redone. We need at least 2 centers, 1 left fullback at least, but not just a couple of players, that you go there and buy for a few $100,000 euros. I mean, you're talking about 8-10 million euro each.
Also need goalkeepers as well. That's
well, you know what? I hope. Okay, let me ask you this. I would love, for Strakosha to stay, because Strakosha is growing exponentially. He really did show in the last few games. Before, Strakosha was never leave the area. Right now, he's actually a kamikaze and just goes outside, kick the ball, reflex. I mean, it's maybe top 10 in Europe, not just in Italy. So, and he's still a young player. He's 26 years old. So it's like he can give 10 good more years, of Lazio. So would you, if you had the chance, would you resign Strakosha, or you would go somewhere else, for goalkeeper?
So I'm kind of caught in between on this one. I've kind of gone back and forth depending on the situation, how it's evolved and progressed. Obviously, we've seen what he's able to do. Obviously, he's a top shot stopper. Like you said, he's very good, has good reflexes. Obviously, he was benched for, they said, technical reasons, for not being able to play with the ball at his feet for too long. And obviously,
definitely something he can improve on. Obviously, we see his the distribution, and it's sometimes, you know, it's not the greatest compared to Pepe Reina, for example, but we need a goalie who can stop the balls and obviously stop the shots and keep us in games. And that's what Strakosha has done year after year whenever he's played. The issue with Strakosha that I feel had happened was he was guaranteed, when he obviously took over in starting goal, I think it was for Marchetti or Berisha, whatever the case may have been. I think it was a combination of both of them. But when he first took over, he had that competition. So he wanted to earn that starting position. He wanted to play all the time. He said, okay, I'm going to make the most out of these opportunities. As it started to progress, whereby he became the number one, and we were bringing in all these Vargic, Proto, all these guys that we knew, they were just there to be the backup goalkeeper. They might not play a single game for the whole season. Strakosha is going to be the number one. As soon as that got into his head, whereby it became just, okay, you know what, I'm going to be starting every single game, I think he let his level of concentration, his level of determination down. And then we saw him start to take a really big dip. And he started to play, I can't remember what year it was. It might have been 2019, 2020. Whenever Pepe Reina kind of took over in goal, there was a reason for that, not just because
it was 1920.
It was also because he wasn't performing the way he was. The year before, he was probably top 3 in Serie A, and we were all saying that based on stats, based on the shots saved, whatever the case may have been. He was doing phenomenal. Year after, like I said, I think he got too comfortable. And that's what kind of happens with players when they're not pushed. And obviously, that's why it's so impressive with Immobile, whereby he's starting every single game, but he's still able to give these performances. That's got the top mentality that most people don't have, or find it takes some years to kind of get that. So I think that kind of got the Strakosha, which is why it kind of comes down to this point now, whereby he's in his final year. There have been talks going back and forth of, yes, I want to stay. No, I don't. Same thing with Luis Alberto, though. We've kind of hear him say, hey, I'd love to play in Spain. I'd like to go to Spain. Oh, okay, no, I'm happy. No, I'm not happy. No, I'm happy again. These type of players, it's gonna fluctuate throughout the year. So we might start with Strakosha and re-sign him to a deal, but what happens when he starts to perform like he did 2-3 years ago when it wasn't the greatest? Then we're gonna go, okay, we need another goalkeeper. We need another goalkeeper. So I think if he does stay, we need to sign another goalkeeper, whether it be a young promising talent or a goalie who's not too old, but who's able to kind of fill in and challenge Strakosha for the starting spot. Whether it be, I know most teams usually do, okay, cup competitions, we throw in one goalie. League competition, we start the other goalie, unless it's an important match. Like we saw Strakosha take over for Pepe Reina in the Europa League. I think he started the Coppa Italia as well. Mm-hmm. If he does stay, he needs that competition, and he needs to be 100% like this is going to be the case. So we're going to start you, but obviously if things start to go south, we have a backup goalkeeper. So keep that in the back of your mind, because that's what's happened in the past. The issue is I don't think Saudi wants to keep him, and I think that's ultimately going to come down to a fight between him and Tade, and maybe even Lotito. Because obviously it's difficult to let a top keeper go, especially when he's a Laziale. He's been there for quite some time. And obviously he's a homegrown player, which is another important thing that we have to consider, because Lazio needs to have a certain amount of homegrown players, which obviously as of late we haven't had too much of. Valerio Crespi and Bertini are looking good in the Primavera right now, so maybe they could come up and kind of fill a role. We obviously have Romero, but I don't think he counts as of yet because he just came this year. And Raul Moro, kind of the same boat, but we don't really have too much youth talent coming out of the club, and we need to have those spots reserved or filled by players that are currently in the club. It's the same thing with Cataldi. I think if Cataldi wasn't a homegrown player, he'd be long gone. He'd be at a different club, but Lazio knows they need to keep them to fill in these requirements. So that's where the interesting point or parts kind of go into. You need to kind of look at the fine details, and I think there's a reason why he stayed at the club and he wasn't sold this year. It's because we need to meet that quota. So like I said, I think if he does stay, there's got to be an agreement whereby we do get another goalkeeper who can challenge for that starting spot or kind of give him competition and be equal. Like most clubs have 2 goalkeepers that they can rely on. Hasn't been the case with Lazio as of late. So I'm kind of caught in the middle between the crossroads of yes and no. Obviously, it would suck to see him leave. But if we were to be able to sign, who knows? I know we've been linked with lots of goalkeepers, whether it be Cragno, Golini, Kappa. If it's a goalkeeper who's well-known and we know who can perform, I'd be okay with it if we can get them for a reasonable price. But obviously, it's going to suck to lose them for free, similar to Luis Felipe. Like these players came from Salernitana. We loaned them out. We got them for less than 500,000, 200,000. We're bringing them over. We've grown them up to a value of over 20 million, and then we're going to let these players walk for nothing. That's the point where I'm kind of like, I'd rather not. I'd rather re-sign him to a deal, maybe sell him next year if he performs again for the 20, 30 million. So I can't really give a final answer. I'm kind of caught in the crossroads. It kind of depends on the situation of the summer.
Well, I see with Strakosha, I think what happened with him, he got a little bit of on a down slope, when it was already with Inzaghi. Then Pepe Reina came over, this player, this goalie that played, for the Spanish team, World Cup champion, played, with great teams, in Europe. And Inzaghi just put it on the field, but also because as soon as he got in, and we forgot that when Inzaghi was at Lazio, and there was the senators, that they were actually ruling Lazio, and the senators were like the Luis Alberto, the Acerbi, Milinkovic, Ciro Immobile,
Lulic, Parolo.
Yes, and Pepe Reina, because as soon as he got in the locker room, he was already one of the chiefs, the boss.
Yeah.
So Strakosha lost his spot and lost his confidence. I mean, for a goalie, confidence is everything. So right now he's acquiring again, and I really hope that Strakosha is gonna stay, because we would make a really big mistake, not just letting go of players that is right now rising and getting better and better, but like you said, we don't have the famous plus valenza, like it's called in Italy, to make actually profit on a player. It's the same thing that we need to renew Milinkovic, Savic this year, or we're gonna lose it next year, at $0. I mean, it's like, what the heck are they doing, at Lazio? I really don't understand. So all these players, coming in, like you said, 200,000 euros, 500,000 euros, and then just get €0, back. It's really bad. But then it's on Lotito and company. One thing that I was going to ask, that you mentioned, Luca Romero. We saw Luca Romero coming in with Cagliari Lazio, and I was actually surprised, because usually I always put Raul Moro, but I was happy because I'm following this young kid. He's really good, but I don't know if he's. It's not about because he's short, because Maradona was short, Lionel Messi is short.
Right.
I think he needs to put a little bit of structure, muscles, just like Raul Moro.
Yep.
But I believe it's going to make a difference, even though right there in front of him, he has like somebody like Sergei Milinkovic, Felipe Anderson, even Pedro, then, he can play in those dual, role. So what do you think about the future of Luca Romero? He will find more space, room in Lazio next year, or is going to be maybe traded and then come back maybe in 2 years?
I think they should keep him, and I think there's a reason for him staying, and I think there's a reason for him also playing, and even over the likes of Raul Moro at times. And I think even near the beginning of the season, I think his first appearance, he was played over one of the veteran players as well. I think that just shows the level of quality that he has. If I'm not mistaken, he had like 230 goals over like 100 and something games with Mallorca's youth side and youth team. So obviously he's been deemed and dubbed as the next Messi, and I don't like to do this. I don't think a lot of people like to do this, because it's so far from it. Obviously, he might have similar talents, might be Argentine, might look similar with the hair back at the young age, but
yes,
obviously, there's time for that to happen. I think right now you just got to let him grow and not make these comparisons. But obviously, he could be playing with the Primavera, like what happened with Raul Moro when we signed him. We put him right to the Primavera. Obviously, he came up a few times to the first team, but we all know Inzaghi's reluctance to kind of use different players from the starting 11 in the Senatori, as you had mentioned. So maybe if Sadio was there last year, something would have happened that would have been different. But obviously, taking Luca Romero over and saying, you know what, we're not going to keep you with the Primavera. We're actually going to bring you and put you with our first team. Because right now, the Primavera squad is doing very well. If Luca Romero was there,
they're really bad.
It would be a different level. We'd already be probably first place by a long shot by now, point wise. So keeping him with the first team kind of shows that Sadi believes in him and he is an actual quality player. And even Lionel Scaloni calling him up to the Argentina squad for training right now for the squad camp. He's not. I think it's the preliminary camp. So he called up a bunch of players, like more than the actual team he's going to take against. I think Venezuela and Ecuador are the two teams that Argentina are playing, but to be able to be called up into that team at his age it just shows the promise and the talent that he has. And I think he's obviously going to be someone who could become an important figure for Lazio. I think he has a contract until 2024, 2025, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously keeping him and letting him develop and play is going to be best. Loaning him out, you could do it maybe to another team, but I don't think so. I think he's got minutes to play. And I think right now, with the likes of, we have Pedro, you have Felipe Anderson, you have Zaccagni, but I think he kind of fills in that role and he's able to kind of play a few minutes. And same thing with Raul Moro. I think if one of them are going to be loaned out, I think it'll be Moro over Romero, in my opinion. Because I think Romero kind of has that little bit of more quality over Raul Moro, but I think both of them, like you said, have to kind of put on a little bit more size, kind of get used to the play in the top flight and for top minutes. So whether it be loaning them out to another Serie A side, which we saw that Raul Moro was linked to a few sides, but he didn't actually end up leaving at the end of the day, for whatever the case may have been. I think kind of giving him some minutes in Serie A first, keeping Romero with the first team, maybe, because he can still probably play for the Primavera next year as well, realistically, if there isn't space. Let him kind of roll with the first team for the time being. And then maybe the year after, if there's not enough room where he's not getting enough minutes, let him go out and develop for a year and then bring him back.
Yes, I mean, he wanted to the first squad, I mean, Luca Romero. So it's Sarri that actually asked, to be there. Maybe is molding him, to just be a Serie A player and a European player. So we'll see for next year. So thank you for, first of all, to be with me all this time. We're going to just go on the end of the Premier Lazio. So let's talk about probably the team that is going to just hit, the picture with Venezia. Once again, is 8:45 p.m. in Italy's time. It's going to be 2:45 in New York time, and right here, Nashville, it's going to be 1:45. So I believe that Sarri will confirm Acerbi and Luis Felipe at the center of the defense. Radu and Isai on the right side, Radu on the left, Luis Alberto Leiva and Milinkovic Savic is going to be the triad right over there in the midfield. I think that it's something that it cannot be touched. And then Zaccagni, Immobile, and Felipe Anderson. So 2 questions for you are: we kind of forced to have Radu on the left and Isai on the right, because Marusic unfortunately cannot be part of the game. And is another player that hopefully is going to sign really, really fast, to stay in Lazio, because Marusic, it's absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. So Isai on that side there, and with all due respect, talking about Venezia, it's a player that maybe in the last 2 or 3, 4 fixture is the worst Lazio player. And that's the first question. The second one, we have Pedro, that if he gets another yellow card, he won't play against Roma in the derby. So you have Felipe Anderson right over there. You got Raul Moro. You got Luca Romero. And you got Cabral. Would you risk Pedro or just keep it on the bench, nice and warm, and play against Roma?
I'll start with that question first. That's the one I want to talk about more. But yeah, I think we warm him up. We say, you stay on the bench for this game. I think as of late, too, he has been starting from the bench, if I'm not mistaken. And Felipe Anderson and Zaccagni have been starting just because of the form they're in. And even Sadi said it. Felipe Anderson's on a good spell of form. Zaccagni's been our best player over the last month and a half, 2 months. So we're going to let them play. And obviously, having the likes of a Pedro come off the bench we've seen what he's able to do over the past years. And even since he's joined Lazio, he's been phenomenal. So having that type of quality coming off the bench late into a game or in the second half, if things aren't working out, is great. Against the Venezia side, obviously, like we said, every game has importance. There's no easy side or easy fixture in Serie A, and Venezia is fighting for salvation. Obviously, they played well or fairly well against the top sides in Serie A. I think we beat them 3-1 the first time around, if I'm not mistaken, away from home. So obviously, we're playing at home at the Stadio Olimpico. Do we need to risk Pedro? I don't think so. I think we kind of get the job done with Zaccagni, Felipe Anderson, Cabral. The interesting thing I want to mention too on Cabral is that there's supposed to be or supposedly or reportedly a clause in his contract whereby if he plays a certain amount of minutes that we have to sign him. So I think that's a factor into why we haven't seen him too much, because obviously, like Sadi said, he's not convinced he can play on the wing, and he says his primary position is a winger. Sadi only says he can play central, and obviously if he's not convincing him enough in training and at that role, unless Immobile gets injured, I don't think we're going to see too much of him. So I think if we're able to roll out Luca Romero, Raul Moro as the subs instead of Pedro, I think that's what we should be doing for Venezia. The second question, or the first question that you asked, was about Hasai. I think, as of late, we've seen against Porto, I think was the first time the 2-2 draw that everyone kind of on social media went at him and said, you know what, like this is ridiculous. He's been on terrible form. Why is he playing? Philippe Anderson was roasted for that a few games before that as well. So it kind of goes to these spells of one player's got to take the criticism, and obviously if everyone else is playing good and you're the odd man out, and even the ratings and the performances and the stats are showing that you're not performing up to standards, there's a reason for Radu regaining his starting role, which we didn't think was going to happen at all this season with the way things were going. And due to the relationship with Hisai and Sadi, obviously they have a relationship back to, if I'm not mistaken, Empoli, and then with Napoli. So having him on the team, I think they kind of had that connection of, okay, like you're gonna be starting in that left back position or the right back position, whatever the case that I need you in. But like I said, I think players become too comfortable. Once they kind of go through that down period, they really go down and they need to kind of have a reset. So whether that be in training or taking a few days off, coming in the last few minutes of matches and stuff like that, we've seen Sadi kind of put him in for Radu near the end of matches. I think that's the reason why. It's a similar thing of let's adapt you back to the starting 11. It is sad, and obviously it sucks to see because obviously we signed him on a long contract and we kind of had these expectations for him. And near the beginning of the season, he was I thought one good of the performers because he was used to Sadi's tactics. He was used to what to expect. So that's why I think, maybe slowly but surely he'll kind of get back into the starting role. But right now, Radu's kind of filled in for that spot, and he's been doing phenomenal. So it's obviously good to see, and maybe we hopefully see him again for another year if he does extend. And yeah, so obviously one player's got to hold the criticism, and right now, as of late, he has been unfortunately the player who's going to get a lot of the stick because of his recent play.
Well, yes, I mean Isai, especially against Napoli, his second goal, it's all on his shoulders. So, but we have Patrick right there that actually could have played, on the right spot because he didn't, with Inzaghi. But I believe that starting Acerbi and Luis Felipe, just in case, since Patrick can be a better center defender than actually, a right full back. Maybe that's for the reason, the Isai is gonna start. We'll see what is gonna happen with Lazio Venezia. There is only one result that needs to come out from Stadio Olimpico on Monday night. There is another 3 points, for the quest of Champions League and for sure, Europa League, because Lazio belongs, to at least that competition. But the formation is pretty much
against Roma. We need to be firing. We need to have the whole squad kind of let's go, let's do this. So if we lose against Venezia, I think that's only going to make things worse. We need to kind of defeat Venezia, go into that match on a winning streak, and come in on a high.
Well, listen, I watched them play even against Atalanta. That Atalanta, and we know that we don't like Atalanta for many reasons. For especially somebody like me, they've been many times in Bergamo and literally, had a little bit of confrontation with Bergamaschi, with the fans of the Atalanta. But with us, they play, for their lives, and against Roma, there was no. It looked really worse than Salernitana. I mean, it's unbelievable how lucky the others are, and there was absolutely something that. See, Gasperini keeps talking about the Bastos hands, in the Italy's final cup. Remember, Cup's final, and but Sunday Abraham just it was like a red card, straight card. I mean, that's something that I was like, oh my God, he killed the player, and he actually was the scorer of the game, and he will be taken off the game because of the red card. So you see. How he plays. I believe that with the derby, if Lazio plays like we play against Napoli, Porto, or Cagliari, Roma doesn't even have like a chance, to win. The derby is always the derby. Is completely different thing, different game, and we know that. But if Roma doesn't have the luck and the help that is getting lately, do you know that in the last 10 games, Roma played with the with red cards against the team they was playing 6 games out of 10. Every time there was a red card.
Last 2 games, last minute goals as well. One a penalty.
Yeah, no, I don't really want to talk about the game before the 99 minutes because that's Steven. I get fired up and I can't, because I was starting the YouTube would just shut down the show. Trust me. It was unbelievable. So that's what I'm saying. If we play against the team, Lazio doesn't have a problem. If we play against the luck and the VAR or referees, that's gonna be like a problem. But right now we got Lazio Venezia. Next week we will talk about, of course, Lazio Venezia. I want to remind everybody we're going to have Planet Lazio. That's going to be on Monday night. It's going to be at 8 p.m., not 9 p.m. Central Time. So it's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern Time, actually, where you live, Stephen. And we're going to talk about Lazio Venezia. That is going to be just finished, a few hours before. And then we talk about the derby, Roma Lazio. And the greatest thing is that the North Stand and the Distinti, the whole sector of Lazio fan is completely sold out. So we're going to have, of course, with Curva Nord, great chantings, great support, for the Lazio player. And so let's just win against Venezia and then just think about, the derby that is right now. It's maybe the most important game for the final of the season. Last thoughts about before we say goodbye to everybody?
Forza Lazio. That's the only thing I have to say. And hopefully, when we talk on Wednesday or after Venezia on Monday, hopefully
Yes.
we're in the same spirit that we're in right now, not kicking and screaming afterwards.
Well, I hope that against Venezia, with all the due respect for the team, Lazio we can just play and show once again, the beautiful football that we are playing, because we are playing really, really, really well. And hopefully next year, with the injection of 5-6 good players, Lazio can actually compete European and Championship, Italian Championship, Europe and Italy. So we'll see. But for the moment, I want to thank you, Stephen, to be with me tonight. So thank you to you and from Canada, and right over here from United States, from Nashville. We want to say good night or good morning if you listen to us from Asia. And Forza Lazio Carica, and we will talk to you on Monday night after post-match and pre-derby. Thank you, everybody, and Forza Lazio. Ciao.
Il nostro padre fondatore ha scelto come simbolo un'aquila imperiale, è nobiltà che scorre dentro le nostre vene da quel 9 gennaio del 1900. La mia seconda pelle, bianco celeste è, con quei colori addosso, non sento la paura, le origini confermano che Roma siamo noi, la prima squadra di questa capitale. La Lazio è un sogno che non esce mai indossa questa maglia deve farlo con rispetto, portare con fierezza il nostro simbolo sul petto, sudore, orgoglio, onore per questa società, perché la gente passa ma la Lazio resterà.